Okay, so get this right. You have this TikTok star, huge following, millions, known for being funny, relatable, the whole influencer thing.
Yeah.
It's Terrion Ishmael Thomas, a.k.a. Mr. Prada. But, and here's the curveball, this guy gets accused of murder.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like you have this online persona, seemingly lighthearted, and then bam, real world consequences makes you think,
Big time. About the masks we all wear online, who we are when no one's watching. That's what we're diving into today. The crime itself, sure, but also like that blurry line between online and real life.
Definitely.
So let's start with the basics. Terrion Ishmael Thomas, Mr. Prada, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that's where he's from. Loved performing, found his platform, like a lot of young people, on TikTok. He was good, really good. Built a massive following, things were, look it up.
Yeah, seems like it.
Until, boom, 69-year-old therapist goes missing. Dr. William Nicholas Abraham.
And that's where it gets weird. Because from what we know, there's zero evidence connecting Thomas to this guy. Not as a patient, not anything. So their relationship, or lack of one, that's the first mystery.
Right. What brought these two together? It's bizarre. And then it gets worse. Abraham's the body. They find it wrapped in a tarp along a highway rural area. Cause of death. Blunt force trauma.
Yeah, that changed everything. Went from missing person to homicide, just like that. And that's when Thomas, he pops up on the relevant.
Hold on, let's back up for a sec. A lot to unpack here, and it's important we're all on the same page. We're talking alleged, right?
Yeah.
Thomas is innocent until proven guilty. This deep dive, it's about the information, not jumping to conclusions.
You got it. Facts, complexities, what it all means, that's what we're here for.
Okay, cool. So back to the evidence.
Yeah.
What makes them focus on Thomas?
A few things, actually. Some witnesses, they say they saw Thomas struggling with a tarp, big one, moving it from his apartment into Abraham's car. The tarp we now think held the body. Yeah, and then there's this surveillance footage. Places Thomas right at the scene where they found the body.
Uh-oh. It's like bad puzzle pieces, but they're fitting together.
But the real kicker, his apartment. They search it, and it's a mess. Blood everywhere. DNA tests, they confirm it later, it was Abraham's blood.
Whoa. Okay, so things are not looking good for Thomas at this point. What does he do?
He takes off, out of Baton Rouge, in Abraham's car, no less. Leads the cops on this chase, multiple states.
Dude, this is straight out of a movie.
Feels like it, right. And it ends, finally, big showdown in Dallas, Texas, high-speed chase. Then he tries to run on foot, but they catch him. And that's when the charges get serious, real serious.
All right, let's break down those charges. It's not just murder, right? There's more to it.
Way more. At first, it was second-degree murder plus obstruction of justice.
Which is already, like, a lot.
Oh, yeah, huge. But then, because Dr. Abraham was 69, they bumped it up, first-degree murder. And in Louisiana, that means death penalties on the table.
Whoa. Okay, things just got real. So what's the difference between those charges? Why is the degree so important?
Imagine this. You plan a bank heist, right? Versus you just grab something on impulse. First degree usually means premeditation. You plan to kill. Or specific situations like killing a cop, or in this case, the victim being elderly. Second degree, still terrible, obviously, but doesn't always mean that level of planning.
So for the prosecution, they got to prove intent. That's going to be huge. But before we get all the legal strategy on this, I want to go back to online persona versus reality. Because we got Mr. Prada, this upbeat TikTok guy, and then this murder accusation. It's jarring.
Totally. Raises a ton of questions. Could that online pressure, keeping up the persona, could that have pushed him to this? Was there this dark side hidden from his followers?
We're going to get into all that right after this. But think about it. The influencers you follow, the online stars, do you really know them? Or just the version they're showing you? We'll be back in a bit to keep digging into this.
That contrast, right? Mr. Prada, all happy-go-lucky online, and then this murder charge. It's heavy stuff. Makes you wonder who's really behind the screen,
It really does. Like, how much of what we see online is real, and how much is just, an act?
We're all kind of performing online, aren't we? Best photos, sharing the good times, making our lives look amazing.
It's like everyone's got this highlight reel going. But for Thomas, his whole thing was online, right? Making money, being popular, all that. The pressure had to be insane.
Oh, for sure. Imagine your income, your friends, your whole identity tied to likes and followers. Stakes are through the roof. It can mess with you. Like, the line between online and reality gets blurry.
So then how do we figure that out? As people, as a society, with all this digital stuff, these online personalities having so much power, what do we do?
We got to be aware, I think. Like, really look at what we're consuming online. Remember, it's usually a polished version of reality. and think about, like, how's it affecting us, our own mental health, all that.
Yeah, finding that balance, the good stuff, connecting with people, building community, but also seeing the bad.
Exactly. And one of the bad things is that pressure, right? To look a certain way, get those likes, compare ourselves to these perfect lives we see online, which are usually fake anyway.
So back to the case. What was Mr. Prada's content like? Was there anything hinting at a dark side? Or was it all sunshine and rainbows?
That's the million-dollar question. Would investigators see something now, knowing what happened? Some foreshadowing, some sign of, I don't know, trouble brewing under the surface.
It's like, did we all miss the warning signs? Or was this truly someone snapping, hiding their true self?
We'll probably find out more as things go to trial. And speaking of trial, gotta say it again, everything's alleged. Thomas is innocent until proven guilty, period.
Right. Can't forget that. Analyzing, not judging. That's the key.
Absolutely. And one of the weirdest things here is there's no motive. We know they weren't therapist and client, and there's no other link, at least not publicly.
So what could have caused this? Random violence, a robbery, some personal grudge we don't know about. The investigators, they must be pulling their hair out.
And without a motive, it's tough for the prosecution because they can't just prove he did it. They got to prove WHY. Without the why, it's all up for grabs. The defense could say it's all coincidence, there's another explanation, whatever.
Yeah, that why is going to be crucial. Both sides need it. So when there's no clear motive, what do investigators do? Where do they even start?
It's a deep dive, man, into the victim's life, the suspect's life, looking for any connection, anything at all, conflict, shared friends, anything to give a reason.
So like their social circles, money stuff, past relationships, anything that shows a link, good or bad.
You got it. And these days, that includes online life too. Digital footprint, all that, social media, who they talk to, websites they visited, could be a clue to motive or to their relationship.
Like building a timeline of their lives and seeing where they overlap.
It's crazy, and sometimes the smallest detail, it cracks the whole thing wide open.
The amount of work that goes into this, it's wild. It's not just catching the bad guy, it's understanding WHY they became the bad guy.
And that understanding, it's important, right? For justice, sure, but also to stop it from happening again. If we know the why, maybe we can prevent the next tragedy.
So as this case goes forward, what should we be paying attention to? What could give us more clues about the motive, about what went down between Thomas and Dr. Abraham?
Keep an eye on what evidence comes out. The prosecution, defense, they share stuff, right? Witness statements, test results, digital stuff. Some of it's never seen the light of day.
And that stuff, it had changed everything. New connections, new motives, new insights into their relationship. Who knows?
Could be huge. And also, watch what the cops say about motive. If they do figure it out, they might hold on to that info, use it strategically.
Okay, so we're waiting for more pieces to fall into place. But for now, let's zoom out a bit. Because this isn't just a legal case, right? There's real people involved, real lives affected.
That's so true. Headlines, courtrooms, it's easy to forget. But there's a family grieving, a community that lost someone important.
Dr. Abraham's brother, Joseph, he said something that really stuck with me. He said, and I'm quoting here, "It wasn't real, and it's still a complexity of emotions that I'm going through right now."
Powerful words, that feeling of like shock, disbelief, just the total devastation of losing someone so suddenly, so violently.
And then there's Thomas. Guilty or not, he's facing a potential life sentence. It's heavy.
It's a reminder that actions have consequences. Online, offline, it all matters. Makes you think about your own choices, how they affect others.
We'll be back after a quick break to wrap up this deep dive. Stick with us. So much to think about with this case. It's like the more we learn, the more questions we have.
Happens all the time, right? You dig deeper and you realize, whoa, there's a whole lot we don't know.
This one, especially with the whole online persona thing,
Yeah.
and then real life consequences, it really makes you think.
It does. I mean, the big takeaway for me, it's like, you can't judge a book by its cover, especially online. What you see, it might not be the real person at all.
Yeah, like we're all wearing masks, kind of showing the best side, hiding the flaws, and sometimes what's underneath, it's a whole different story.
And that difference, like we see here, it can be huge and it can lead to terrible things.
Makes you realize we got to be careful with online personas, how we create them, how we interpret them. It's powerful stuff.
We need to be smarter about it, right? Think critically, be kind to each other, because behind every profile, every post, it's a real person.
We can't just go by likes and follower counts. Empathy, understanding, that's what matters. Online, A&D, offline.
Totally agree. It's something we all got to keep in mind with how much our lives are online now.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, a few things to remember. First off, this case, it's not over. Terrion Ishmael Thomas, innocent until proven guilty. And there's probably a lot more to the story than we know right now.
And second, let's think about those online personas, both our own and the ones we see. Be critical, be kind, and remember, human beings first. Always.
This whole thing, it's shown us how blurry the line's getting between online and real life. So we got to be thoughtful, be compassionate, remember we're all connected.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a wild ride for sure. And hopefully it makes everyone think a little deeper about the world around us, online and off.